everybody, Wandering Curator Evan here. In today's video, we're going to explore one of Battleship New Jersey's fuel tanks. Now, a fair bit of warning, there is a bit of an echo in there, so the audio isn't exactly perfect, but I think you'll still like it. Thank you very much for watching.
What?
It's a wire ladder going down from here.
Okay.
It appears intact.
I seem to remember you falling here before, so let's make good choices.
So, Ryan, where on earth are we?
We're in one of the battleship's fuel tanks. We've climbed down below the mess decks back aft, and now we're inside some of the fuel spaces that are used as part of our torpedo defense system.
Oh my goodness, let me just tell you, I thought our ballast tanks were deep. I could not believe how deep these things go. How far down do they go in terms of feet?
Let's see, this one's probably about 20 feet deep, but the one down below us here is about 40 feet deep.
That's crazy.
So that level down there would be liquid loaded. This one generally would not be, although sometimes you would press the tanks if you're like, we're gonna do a transatlantic trip and then at high speed, and then at the other end we might be in a combat zone, like when the ship goes to Lebanon. We suspect that they would have probably overflowed the tanks a little bit. And you can see here is one of the 1980s era fuel level floats, one of the gauges that they added to measure that. And you can see it's one of two. If you look through the tank here, you can see there's a lower level float for that deeper tank down there.
Oh, wow.
That's a relatively late addition to the ship. Generally, they're checking fuel levels with a dipstick. It's like a folding metal rod. It's about this long that you fold out until it's 60 feet long, essentially. Actually, this pipe right here is the sounding tube that you would do that for. So you go up on the mess decks, there would be a plate with a brass cover on it. I'll point one out to you when we get back up there. You unscrew that with a little T-handled wrench, and then you just drop your dipstick down there, or you can use it's almost like a tape measure with a metal plumb bob at the end.
People often associate ballast tanks with submarines. What's the purpose of ballast tanks on a battleship?
Some of the same reasons as you. Now, obviously, we're not going all the way under the water, but it is the same idea where we want to keep the ship stable and level. It makes us a better gunnery platform. So, ballast tanks can be used to transfer fluid from one side of the ship to the other, to help correct a list, things like that. It's where we hold fluids that we need, such as fuel or drinking water or boiler feed water. So all of that is held in tanks around the side of the ship. It's part of our armor system, so it helps us with torpedo defense. An explosion against the side of the ship here will have to go through all this fuel and other stuff before it gets to the inner layers of the ship and actually allows it to penetrate. It also helps us keep our armored belt at the correct level. So let's say we empty several of our fuel tanks, we would fill them with other fluid, usually salt water, to keep the ship low in the water so that we don't get so light that the armored belt is above water.
In the event that something down here goes wrong, how would they do work down here?
Oftentimes, work would be done in a shipyard, but all of our ballast tanks have access. So far we've found about 2 different types of access ladders. If you turn around there, you can see this ladder that's welded onto the side of the bulkhead. I trust these ladders, and they go to manholes that are generally about 12 by 18 inches, which I feel like are similar size to submarine manholes. The other type of ladder, though, is one that I do not trust because I've fallen off of a couple before. If you look right down here, you'll see that it's basically dogging wrenches attached to 2 wires, and they're nominally connected at the top and at the bottom of the tank. Well, they might have been 80 years ago when they were installed, but those wires have wasted away in many of these tanks. These tanks held fluid, they're not climate controlled, and they're now over 80 years old. So there is corrosion on these spaces, which often targets things like that. Those are probably a holdover to the Washington Naval Treaty, where they're limiting the weight of the ship. So rather than putting a legitimate ladder in there that doesn't turn my stomach, they're doing the lightest weight thing possible. So they came through and they stripe coated all the seams. So they blasted all the tanks and then just painted there instead of spending the money to paint the whole thing. That is our silica desiccant pack. When the ship was placed into mothballs, they put these inside of parts of the ship that they weren't running dehumidification to. So like things like these tanks, which are airtight, watertight, they couldn't run ductwork to dehumidify them and keep the ship from deteriorating in mothballs. So they installed thousands of these silica gel discs around the ship to absorb humidity and keep these tanks dry. And you can feel that it's dry in here now. It's really humid outside, being the mid-Atlantic this time of year in the summer, but it feels dry in here.
Wow. All right, well, thank you very much for letting me come down here. I just am just amazed at the size of this. I really am. It's just incredible. I thought CODS was big, but you guys are much bigger.
Everything's bigger on the Battleship, including our curators.